Hello, everyone. This is new. This is me exploring this avenue of expression for creating a space intentionally that is really focused on defining the days that change us, the days that really stand out in our life, that are really times where we pivot, days that maybe rock us to our core, days maybe long in the past that we slowly start to recognize that have been the ones that changed us, our path in life, how we've expressed ourselves in life, both from a trauma lens, but also from just life experience lens. Um, my work is clinical counseling, and I have a practice here in wherever you're listening to this. You might not know the area, but I'm in Kelowna, BC, and that's in Canada. So I work with a lot of men in my practice because it's only dedicated to men's mental health. And there's oftentimes a lot of themes that show up. And it really inspired me to also share not their stories, obviously because of confidentiality, but common themes, also ones that I've noticed within my own life of really defining my path and the importance of acknowledging those days that change us because they're in every one of our lives. There's days that really stand out. For me, it was when I was 21. I'm just going to dive right into it. When I was 21, I was going down the wrong path in life, experiencing a lot of dissociation, wanting to just be accepted. I wanted to be liked, all because of things that happened to me before that time in elementary school and high school that led me on this path of just being really disconnected from myself. Um, I was craving just being accepted. And oftentimes that meant me doing things that didn't align with my values and myself, my core self. But I did them out of this fear of if I was to express my authentic self, I would not be accepted. So I went down the route of trying to appear powerful, appear cool, in a great position, make lots of money. And I got into the drug industry, and somewhat of a gang lifestyle. Not too much into it, but um, it led me to being arrested down in the U.S. And I spent 3 years in federal prison down in the U.S. in California. That day that I was arrested was the day that changed my life. And at the time, I was like, this is terrible. This sucks. Looking back at it now, it's one of the best things that's ever happened to me because it forced me to make a decision. I either stay on this path I'm on, and I'm now bearing the fruit of that choice, which is landing me in prison, or I make a hard choice and I start to change my life. I start to change my behaviors, my actions. Um, and the easy choice would just be going along with the flow that I was on, staying in that lifestyle, joining a gang in the prison, going with the flow. There was some sort of urge that I was feeling of that's not right. It's not going to be an easy thing to follow through on of trying to turn my life around in a environment that is not very conducive to that and not very supportive of that. Thankfully, and I feel very grateful that I had some supports around me that allowed me to get to that position. I'll spare the long details of that entire experience. It's for a totally different episode, many maybe at that. But that day, again, if I zoom out to where I am now, and that happened to me. It's almost coming up in 20 years ago. I turned 40 this year, and I look back at that and I say, if that never happened, I don't know if I'd still be alive. I don't know where I'd be, but it was needed for me to make that really hard choice, which has led me to a much more connected, fulfilled, joyful life now where I am in life. And I'm able to sit in this position of helping other men make those hard choices too, that have good fruit to bear at the end of it. The saying of the juice is worth the squeeze, that comes from making hard choices. Really, it does, because there's the days that can change us and give us the opportunity. It requires us to make a hard choice in that. It may be making a hard choice of leaving a relationship, even though the relationship feels like a very much of a comfort zone, but maybe it's really not you in the relationship. Maybe it's leaving a job. Maybe it is changing your lifestyle, eliminating some friends in your life who are becoming a block for you to be where you are in life or where you want to be in life. There's many avenues. There's many days that can define us. It can go all the way back to our childhood of experiencing traumas, neglect, bullying in schools. So my goal for this podcast is to have conversations around the days that change us, the opportunity they present, slowing down enough to recognize those days in our life and maybe the choices that we have when we slow down. There's so many of us guys that are going a million miles an hour and feel like we got to be doing a ton at once, productivity to the max, and hack away through life. But we got to slow down in order to actually make proper decisions and to enjoy our life and to connect with what's important in our life. And if we want to create change in our life, we have to slow down enough to recognize what needs to be changed. So whether it's a solo podcast episode with me or it's a guest that I have on where we talk about, the days or the day that changed their life and we have dialogue around it, that's really what I'm wanting to normalize, is for us guys to slow down enough to have real conversations and identify the pivotal days in our life that have, again, caused us to meet this fork in the road, right? And then talk about, what do we need to make that hard decision? What do we need from ourselves? What do we need from our people around us, our supports, our community? How do we grow a community in an area maybe where it feels like we don't have anyone? There's a very big theme with a lot of guys where it feels very isolating and lonely if they were to chart on this new path. And that makes sense. But sometimes that's needed. Sometimes we have to break away from what feels comfortable and familiar to grow in our life, to heal from what has caused us pain in the past. So that's really the goal of this. So I look forward to seeing this unfold. I look forward to having guests on and having the dialogue, and I look forward to the richness of this space and what it can be as well. And who knows, maybe there's some hard choices that I'll have to make within this. Even within the conversations that we have on here, I'm really hoping and maybe even envisioning that we get to a point where I want to maybe play with this idea of having in a conversation, us leaning into making hard decisions, maybe encouraging one another to make a hard decision, right? Maybe if you have a friend of yours right now who is in that position of having to really make a hard decision, how can you be a supportive friend for that person, to encourage them not to take the easy way out, not to take the comfortable way out, but to really lean in and support and encourage and gently push them, right? Supporting in someone making that hard choice does wonders. So that's my goal. Some many goals in here, but that is definitely a big one. So I look forward to the following episodes, the upcoming ones, and again, sitting in the richness of what this space can be. See you soon.